Okay, lovely to see you guys. I hope wherever you are, your mornings are bright, sunny, or if not, you're feeling sunny. Let's start with a meditation. And in the meditation, I'll kind of introduce what we're doing this evening. Okay, so just relax into your space, find your posture, take some lovely deep breaths and relax. And during these sessions in November, December, we started with the idea of really managing our ego being a point of the path to enlightenment. So all the practices we do help us to manage our egos. So understanding what the ego is definitely a good starting point. So we're going to start with the taking and giving, a Tonglen meditation on ourselves. And we're going to focus on those ego-centered aspects of ourselves that cause us suffering. So I'll guide you through this quite heavily. And then we can get into some discussion. And I want to pick up in the meditation on each week's focus. So I'll be drawing in the particular concepts we've contemplated. So we need to be really relaxed in a lovely, comfortable state and not stressed about this in any way. We're meeting ourselves, and we're meeting ourselves as if it is our own dear child. So we, the meditators, are like the parent, and we view our child self seated ahead of us and facing us. So we're not seeing ourselves as literally a child, but we're focusing on the various aspects that the ego gives us problems with. So first of all, just create that lovely connection. It's full of love and concern and guidance and nurturing. The gentle parent, not the wrathful, strict parent. Really wanting the best and understanding that we have frailties. So as we look at ourselves, let's consider first of all our attachments, and possibly how they have turned into aversion. We can't do everything, but the big ones that come to us that are causing us problems right now. It could be people. Not the person who you feel completely comfortable with, but perhaps someone that you're anxious about for one reason or another. And recognize your attachment in that. It could be something like age, feeling a strong attachment to how you used to be, or some sense of discomfort with the way your body is now. That's attachment. It might be strong attachments to food or drink. A type of weather. Wanting to live in an environment with certain kinds of neighbours or no neighbours. So many areas in which to find our attachments. So just let a few focus and see, this is the important thing, how they bring you discomfort, dis-ease. And what we're going to do is, as any parent would, is want to take that away from you. Just want to make you all better. So start to breathe in those attachments like thick black smoke coming towards you, the parent, until you have a big black cloud in front of your face. Because you're now going to breathe that in, it's going to come down to your heart chakra, which is completely blocked and covered by your black granite-like ego. And as you breathe in that suffering, it starts to crack this rock. And your Buddha nature, your light, escapes. And it's powerfully strong. And you can breathe it out and give it to your child self. And there you are. You've taken away the pain. Now, let's focus on all the beings we don't have equanimity with. From political parties to different faith groups, to different sects within your faith group, to people with no faith, to people who hunt, anybody you struggle with. All those people you don't know and you don't particularly want to know. And see how that brings you suffering. and take it away. All that black smoke, all that lack of equanimity. Seeing yourself as superior or inferior or struggling to have compassion with or interested in all those beings. How does that bring you suffering? And take it, take that smoke right up to your face and think, yes, I've got to take that from my dear child. Breathe it in and let it go down and work on that black rock, which cracks more and more, releasing more and more light. Light of equanimity and non-attachment, beaming up through your nostrils and out to your dear self. And then just look at yourself and your karma. How many times have you said to yourself, I've got lousy karma? Or perhaps you have thought, no, it's not me, it's others, it's others. Just look at your dear child self and how it struggles with your karma. And how you get thrown by such strong desire into deeper attachments and aversions through the karmic imprints you have stamped all over your lovely consciousness. And generate such compassion that you've got to take that karma. You want to purify. So breathe it in, let it come towards you. Breathe it right down to that ego rock which is diminishing. With your wisdom, through your wisdom and compassion, and more light comes out that you can send to your dear self. And now just let it run like a wave, taking on the suffering, giving out the love and compassion, until there you are, the healthiest ego, the healthiest child, glowing, open, you, full of light. And you, the parent, you have totally uncovered your Buddha nature. And you are growing too. And bring that inner child to the crown of your head, facing the same way. Dissolve it into light, bring it down to your heart and fill yourself with non-attachment, equanimity, purified self. And just feel that potential. And think with this intention to understand yourself and be your own therapist, not only can you benefit yourself, you can benefit so many other beings through unwrapping your self-centeredness and opening yourself up to others. And gradually dissolve the light and end your meditation when you're ready in your own way. Okay. Slightly different take on Tonglen, and I thought it would set us up for this evening. We've got this evening and we've got next week, and then we finish this set of sessions. So we're going towards, as we can see, with understanding about the ego, towards compassion. Because the route to destroying the ego is totally bound up not just with the practice of emptiness, but being able to move from the self-centered view to the view of others being in the center of your universe, to the view of equalizing others and others being more important. That's kind of the practices towards compassion. So I thought we'd talk about a little bit before we have some questions and have more discussion, is just thinking about these antidotes that I was bringing into the meditation. So first of all, when we consider our attachments, it's often to do with people. So that's useful to focus on at the moment, although other ideas might have come in. So you develop understanding about what we contribute to our relationships. And that's always important, because the ego puts up a huge barrier to considering that we might be wrong. We will come up with anything that's possible to justify that we are right, really. And sometimes, you know, the way in which we contribute to difficult relationships is very subtle. So you can look at a relationship like a black and white. So let's take a classic example of a romantic relationship, and one of you know, let's say the woman cheats on the man. So then we go, okay, it's the woman's fault and the man is in the right. Now that's a very black and white view, okay? And that may be a very good reason. But what we are prone to do is to stick to that one particular solution and not look at what might be more subtle reasons. The subtle reasons being that perhaps the relationship is getting stale. Perhaps the person who is being cheated on is in a different kind of space and doesn't notice what's going on with the other person. The other person might have other stuff that's going on that they need. Perhaps they've got some kind of mother complex, so therefore they're looking for other women all the time to kind of complement them. I can't give you exact answers, examples, because you'll have them in your life. But what I'm saying is what we do is we look for a black and white solution. And you can see that in all kinds of, well, I mean, you've got Oprah over there, haven't you? Where they get people together and they start talking about he did this and she did that, and it goes on and on and on. And what we often fail to do, because the ego, again, is wanting to justify itself, is to look, in what way did I contribute to this relationship failing? So that's just a classic romantic one, but you can apply it, and perhaps you are in your own heads now, to other relationships. It could be a mother and daughter, it could be sisters and brothers. They're very complex. And if you practice Buddhism, what you'll find is when you analyze, because that's what we are, we're analysts. When you're your own therapist, you're going into self-analysis. So when we analyze and we go deeper and deeper, eventually you'll come to that wonderful space called emptiness. Yeah. So we know that emptiness isn't traditionally an empty space, but what it is that you can't pinpoint the reason. You can't pinpoint, you can't say there is the wrong, because there are so many layers to it and so many aspects to what happens in a situation. And that leads us on really to look at our karma, because of course we wouldn't be in that relationship if it wasn't for our karma. And if we are suffering, it is definitely because of karma, because you cannot suffer from a difficult karmic consequence unless you have created the cause for it. So even if it appears to be absolutely, I've been treated so wrong, we have to, as practicing Buddhists anyway, we have to go, well, wow, what did I do in other lives or another life? And when we go to that, we have literally got to go, okay, that's how equanimity works. Because I'm not just looking at this life, the person who is my friend this lifetime, or the person who is my enemy, or my lover who has now become my enemy. It might not have been them in particular, but surely, definitely in some past existence, you have created that same suffering for others. We have to take that on board, otherwise we're really not practicing Buddhist. You can be your own therapist as somebody who doesn't believe in karma and rebirth, and use it to a certain extent. If you're a practicing Buddhist, being able to equalize all our relationships across all the various lives, that really makes us Buddhist. Because that's when you get to the practices of seeing all beings as your mother. In Tibetan Buddhism, we see all beings as our mother, and we recognize their kindness, we want to repay them, and that's the basis for compassion. And actually, before we even start doing that, we've got equanimity. We all want happiness. We are all equal. And if we have the belief in rebirth, then we have to accept that all these beings at some point have been related to us. So that's our big job. That's our big job. And that enables us to then try to purify our karma. So we enter into, because we realize actually that without purification, we're stuffed. Because that karma is building all the time, and we don't know what's ahead of us. So how are we going to practice the Dharma if we've got all kinds of stuff that's building up in the future? We've got no literal control over it, except that damage control of purification. Yeah? So that's why Buddhists enter into lots of purification practice. And once they start realizing about karma, then every day presents them with opportunities to go, whoops, that wasn't very nice, because we're using mindfulness, we're being mindfully aware. We're using mindfulness in that understanding of the term, not in the meditation term, but just being mindful. You know, the more modern usage of mindfulness, just being aware of, oh, when I said that, I think I might have hurt them. And the more you practice that, the more you'll be aware of it, because you won't be able to leave a conversation without either feeling totally comfortable or else picking up on some subtle nuance that happened within a discussion. We don't want to get paranoid, or we don't want to get obsessive, but when it comes to us, it is that opportunity. And then what we can do at that time is regret it. We might think, well, I'm going to give them a ring when I get home and just say sorry about that or whatever. Or we can say mantras, you know, that mantra of purification, or even just a simple mantra of purification, like a mani padme hum. It's just like, oh, Ondy, what have you done? Just a quick recognition. And if we're doing that in our actions, we can also do that with our thoughts, because as practicing Buddhists, we're probably trying to be, you know, very aware in active situations. But what is really difficult for anybody to do is to manage their thoughts. So we're making up these stories all the time. We're making up stories where people, you know, might not like us, or where people, where we say things in order to assert ourselves. And then you go, whoa, what am I doing? And just remember, it's not you, it's not you, it's not you. It's not the child ego. Yeah, the parent ego is noticing the child ego and going, whoops, you've just fallen and hurt yourself. Let me kiss that better. That's basically what we're doing. We're recognizing that little child aspect of us that's going, oh, I need to be seen, I need to be proved right, or whatever it is. And we're just going, just hold it. Okay? It's just a story. It's just a story. And it's just your ego trying to, you know, defend itself, because it's always trying to, you know, be the center of the stage. And if it's not the center of the stage, even if we're nice, quite shy people, when I say nice, you know, if we're kind of humble people or whatever, there's something within that humility and quietness that is still wishing to be the center of our little universes. Okay, so that's why that meditation was kind of a useful way of getting separation, if you like, from the stuff that is going on that the ego is involved in, and building up this lovely awareness of inside us all, we are Buddha. And we are in contact with that more and more. Each day, remind yourself, you know, even when you are really struggling with any particular issue, just going, the reason I can struggle with this is because I'm in touch with my Buddha nature. Just the fact that I can struggle with it, because an egomaniac wouldn't even notice and wouldn't struggle, and just walks and talks, thinking that that child is the whole of them, and they need to enlarge on it and make it even more monstrous. Yeah? We can see the examples in the world without naming any and shaming anybody, you know, because we're kind of mini versions, if you like, because we do the same things. So I think that's quite a lot to consider. We're at the point where we're starting to untie the knots of our attachments, the knots of our karma, which is creating stronger attachments. We're starting to untie the knot of being the center so that we can make room for others. And we're at the point of going, all these beings across all these lifetimes have been kind to me. They might not have intended to be. They might have been doing horrible things to me, but they were helping me and teaching me all the time. Yeah. And according to Tibetan Buddhism, they've all been our mothers. I mean, it's really difficult to get a handle on that. That's a massive amount of time. What did I come across here? Yeah. The time when sentient beings began to be mothers does not exist. Such a time is not the object of even the omniscient mind of enlightened beings. That's one of the logical reasons given in the Lam Rim to recognize that all sentient beings have been our mothers. Because we're talking big, big time here. I'll just repeat that. The time when sentient beings began to be mothers does not exist. Such a time is not the object of even the omniscient mind of enlightened beings. Of all the realms of samsara, there is none in which I was never born. I've been every little insect, every hell being, every ghost, I've been everywhere. I've been everywhere, been born as everything. I mean, wow, Buddhism is so vast, isn't it? And that's why we need retreat, because usually, you know, in our daily life, we're too busy to notice or think about all this. When you're in retreat, you know, even just stepping outside of your retreat room and seeing an insect gives you a chance for reflection. Now, I've been that being with that tiny little body, that tiny little mind. That's vast. And that being's been my mother. Remember, I told you the story of the Tibetan woman with the scorpion going, come on, mother, come on, mother. Helping her. You see, if you have that kind of culture and you're raised to believe this, it's second nature. That must be incredible. We haven't got that culture, so we're having to work on it now. So it doesn't come naturally to most of us. Yeah. But if you've been raised from a child to see every being as your mother, think how that affects the consciousness and our attitude towards other beings. But the main point of this is to help us have a healthy ego and help us deal with the things that create problems for us. So that's what we're looking at, these antidotes. Understanding about what you contribute to failing relationships, working on having an equanimous view of other people, developing compassion, and starting to untie the knots of our attachments, not increase them, which we talked about last week. Okay, that's quite heavy stuff there. I'm going to stop and hope that some of you have got some questions. I'll start by asking you, you can open up your speakers, your little devices, how you found the meditation. Was it difficult or not?
It was slightly challenging for me because I've already meditated 2 hours today at 2 different places, and I didn't know we were going to go. But I stuck with it, and I find it very, very helpful to do the Tonglen in that fashion, and I enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome, Danny. And yes, dedicate the merits of all this meditation. Fantastic. Anybody else? Was anybody unfamiliar with Tonglen, taking and giving, this whole, giving light, taking black smoke, or have you all done that in the classic way before? You've all done it. Okay. So how did you find that particular way of focusing on it as a ego child and you as the parent? Yeah, Danny liked it. Yes, Barbara, nodding. Okay. Okay. Erica, how about you? Was that okay?
Yeah, it was more, some days are more difficult to concentrate, and I was trying to trying to concentrate, and there's a baby.
Oh, well, yeah, okay. There's a real baby there. Not
there's
just
a real baby here.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Oh, well, yes, you're quite a distraction, aren't you? Hello. But Erica, yeah, does your child give you opportunities as a Buddhist practitioner, to recognize how strong the ego is, even what am I getting? I love taro ice cream. Is that what you've got?
Oops, caught again. We were chatting about I'm making poi, kind of a taro pudding in the microwave.
Once again, I've chatted in the wrong place. I apologize.
Last time it was me.
I'm getting confused here. Okay, that's no problem. I'm going to go back to Erica and just say, do you see even in that lovely little baby what a strong individual ego your baby has?
Yes, I think everybody has the potential to have strong egos, and you can see a baby with a strong will, even when at this age. I know he's like sometimes being stubborn and doing things wrong. Yes, like when you say, don't touch this, don't do that, and he so I think this is a part of being human, and the condition of being human. So
and
it's very difficult.
You're raising a very good point there, because we had this discussion before about understanding that we're talking about a healthy ego. Mm-hmm. So in a child, you really want to have a child with a healthy ego that has mm-hmm. that sense of I. Mm-hmm. Because if they have no sense of I and they don't care about themselves, then they can't work with that I to become enlightened. That's the kind of irony of the situation, Yeah. So it's good to have a strong one, but that needs guidance, and then the potential is huge. And actually the lamas say that sometimes the people who do the worst deeds, and there are examples, in Buddhist stories, have such strong energy that it's that energy in itself that if transformed onto the Buddhist path can realize a lot. Yeah. Which is really interesting. So it's about energy, the energy of the consciousness, and because if you're kind of somebody who just spends each day and is happy, going to work, eating their dinner, not thinking about anything, there's not a strong mental energy there for transformation. Mm-hmm. So having that strong energy, even if you think it can be, and I'm not talking about you now, but anybody, even if you think, oh, I've been so destructive, the fact that it's been powerful and you've got loads of anger, once transformed, very powerful compassion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Anybody
so
else?
much.
Sorry?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Any other questions going on here?
I really liked the meditation. I liked the idea of having this. I mean, we're all born in relation to the world and to each other. So as soon as we get here, we're being influenced and influencing in return. But, you know, as we grow, we get that black and white thinking. And it was nice to return to maybe, even if I never was innocent, you know, it's still nice to think that and relate to a being like that, you know, that's something that has something to do with me, and come back to that place of innocence and let some of that, you know, blame, black and white thinking, all of that just kind of melt away in seeing my perception of myself as innocent. So I really like that.
That's great.
I also have a question for you.
Yeah.
I get a little confused with one aspect of karma, and that is, this may be my own filter working here, but it sounds like the message sometimes or all the time is to, you're in a bad situation, stay and struggle, figure it out, make yourself okay with it. You know, it's like this internal work. But are there situations that, you know, when you mentioned about the woman cheating, you know, maybe karmically the thing to do to grow and to create better karma going forward for the man would be to leave the situation. And it seems like karma keeps like I keep hearing this message to stay and struggle. And I'm wondering if that is your view on it, or is there other options where you just say, okay, I've had enough of this, karma or not?
Yeah, well, actually, it's a very good point, Barbara. And I think what happens is that your karma runs out with the situation. So there are some, you can stand back and you can look at your friends and go, why is she putting up with that? I would never put up with, you can do all this. You think it goes on. And then sometimes you hear about, I'm using women as an example here. I guess, more women are abused with violence than men, but it happens both ways, of course. But you hear about these women who are in cycles of abuse. So they leave, they get help, and then they find another guy who's exactly the same, who beats them up. This is karma, and this is also very low self-esteem. So this is where you can see that having a healthy ego is really important. So somewhere along that line, that child has been damaged. Maybe they saw their own mother being beaten and they become a beater if they're a man, or they become somebody who thinks that that's a healthy relationship. So you can see that the conditioning is creating the causes for you to become that kind of victim in that scenario. If we're talking about victim, that is your karma. So until you've actually gone, no, I'm walking away and I'm never going to get into a situation like this again, you are continuing the cycle of karma. So actually, as far as I can see, I think that whole thing of stay and struggle it is a dodgy one. And maybe you stay and struggle because you can't get any money and you're looking after children, and you realize that you can manage it at least for a few years because, without you, what are the children going to do? It might be that kind of situation where you're really trying to balance things out and you have others in mind. But if it's just you, why? No, that's a unhealthy ego with very low self-esteem that can't benefit themselves on the path to enlightenment until they're free. But they won't be able to. What we have to understand, and this happens with us as well, is that you might look back and you think, why did I put up with that? I've wasted all those years, or whatever you think. Well, you just didn't have the karma. You had to see it through. There was a karma driving you forward. But if you balance that out with, okay, there isn't just this life, then you can think, okay, that this has been part of my job this life, to end this kind of karma and make a strong vow that I will never be oppressed or beaten or abused in the future. Do you understand what I'm saying? It, you know, why people stay together, we look and we think, what? But they're karmically bound a lot, you know, they're karmically bound. And no matter what guidance they get from other people, until they're karmically ready, they'll stay.
Thank you. That's very, very insightful, because I've been thinking of things in my own life and, like you said, like in some friends' life, and something about the way I've been understanding karma kind of stalls things. Like, okay, you're stuck in this and you just stay in the cycle. You know, you're supposed to be working on this, but sometimes taking that leap might get that energy behind the karma and move it in the right direction. So thank you very much, because this was an alternative view from what I've been hearing, and I really appreciate it.
And I think also what happens is when you do take that leap, you know, that there is again an attachment to thinking, well, everything will be all right now. It's not necessarily all right. It's bloody tough, you know, building a life without somebody, even if they've been horrible to you. Going away, starting again. You know, we have again our attachment to our comfort zones, no matter how uncomfortable the comfort zones are, is enormous, and making big changes is a huge challenge. So, you know, we can also see that ending, for this example that we're using, which is common in life, everywhere you go, there's divorces going on. And, you know, you talk to people and they're going, I'm going through a difficult divorce. And you think, well, all divorce is difficult, even if it's amicable. It's difficult because it's a new start. It's a change. Might be a change of home. And then there's relationships with other people. They're all change. So any change is difficult. And if we think that changing, wow, suddenly I'm going to be free. And you see this as well. Oh, I'll join this dating website. I'll meet somebody nice. Well, then you just get back into some similar routine. And then when that doesn't work out, depression. Because you don't give yourself the time to just be you and build up that healthy self. I mean, let's face it, it's samsara, suffering everywhere, but what we're trying to do is gradually whittle it away. So that's why I'm saying, you know, we get, what was the phrase that I used, that how karma is so strong that it throws us off course into more attachment. That's why I've written down the note for myself earlier. Karma is so strong, it just puts us into another karmic attachment. Attachment is so subtle the way it works. Our desire for comfort. Yeah. Oh, I'm getting quite passionate about it. You can tell I've been through it. Okay. We just lost somebody, didn't we? Where's she gone? for a cup of tea, cup of coffee. It's the morning there, isn't it? Anyway, anything else there? Thank you for that, Barbara. Because these questions really help us, you know, get right into the point. So how it all means to you is really important. We've still got 5 minutes or so. I think you're all okay. Well, we can finish with the meditation, a short one, unless there are any. Another one, Danny, that will be just a 5-minute one, okay? I'll make it different.
That's just great. I should go back to Zen. Just kidding. I still do a little bit of that.
Well, I won't do an analytical one. I mean, these analytical ones, they are hard work, or using visualization where you're really thinking about stuff. So we'll end with something lovely and light so that you can enjoy your day. Yeah. Okay, let's do that then. Okay, so we're just going to absorb all this thinking. And just literally feel like there's been a snowstorm in your head, so now it's all settling. So as we breathe in, we're breathing in spaciousness, and we're breathing out thought, stimulation. Because what we want to do is take this concepts into our heart. The purpose of meditation, which is why it's so much more effective than just philosophical discussion. So let's go back to that idea of this wonderful inner light, enlightenment being, and that black rock, and just feel that black rock all dissolved, and at your heart, you've now got that heart chakra. You've got a beautiful sun and a moon cushion representing your wisdom and compassion, and seated on it is an enlightenment being. Might be Buddha, might be an aspect of yourself, all cleaned up and pure, or a deity that you practice. Just let it arise. So peaceful. Sending out light all around your body. Till you're filled with light. And really focus on this being your higher self, your potential that you can draw on. So whenever you get caught up in worldly issues, just take some deep breaths and come back to this serenity within, source of your wisdom and compassion. It will help you know what to do. It will help you override the ego. and with enormous appreciation of finding and knowing and nurturing this aspect of yourself, just generate a really strong sense of well-being and confidence and self-esteem. Let's end with a classic Buddhist dedication. All the good things I have generated, thinking about this, working with myself, generating compassion. And I'm going to dedicate it all to becoming enlightened, fully enlightened, for the benefit of all beings. Relax, end our meditation. When we're ready.
Thank you very much, Ondy.
Thank you. It was a joy, as always. And we
Thank
have
you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. And I'll see you next week, I hope, for our last session in this little round. Okay?
See you then.